Hey folks, and welcome to Greg's Golf Shack. Do your golf clubs look like this? Filthy, dirty, makes it really tough to control the ball around the green and stick those approach shots. Your clubs should look nice and clean like this. So in today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the impact of having clean grooves and how it can benefit your game. Now, the grooves on a golf club are really important aspects of wedge and iron technology. Now, we're not going to get into the science of how it really impacts ball spin and ball flight and everything, but we want to generally cover how it impacts your golf game. And we generally understand that with irons and wedges, it's good to have a descending blow into that ball, meaning the bottom of the swing arc comes after the ball, or the divot comes after the ball. We don't want to hit the ground before the ball because that will interrupt the interaction between the ball and the club face. We want the grooves to be able to do the work. Now, many of us amateur golfers don't quite get the same descending strike and compression on that ball the way the pros do, but we do rely on those grooves and that textured face to help interact with that ball and give us a little bit more control. What we want to do is use the grooves on the club to help us control the distance we want the ball to stop after it's flown through the air. So the area we'll see the most spin generated is in the higher lofted clubs. Our wedges, for example. Our mid irons, maybe. Our lower irons, average golfers have a tough time generating that spin. But the club and the grooves will still do some of that work for us. So if we're hitting a 4-iron into the green, we'd like to make sure that we can hold that green, and it's difficult to do with a lower lofted club. But as we get up into clubs like a sand wedge or a lob wedge, we'd like that ball to stop pretty soon after it lands, if not even spin back a little bit. You see, the grooves on the club, even that little textured pattern you see on there, help that interaction between the club and the ball to generate that spin. Now, a lot of folks, especially those with big slices with their driver, will say, I don't want spin, spin's bad. And there are scenarios where we don't want spin. But controlled spin, using the technology to help our game, is a different story. When we're slicing drives, it's a different concept of spin. A lot of drivers don't have any grooves or any texture at all right in the middle of that sweet spot. So when we're generating spin with the driver, it doesn't have much to do with the grooves. It's because our face angle or our path are really askew compared to our target line. Now, it's not only the grooves that do all the work. The type of ball that we use has a significant impact on that interaction between the club and the ball. So if you're using cheap range ball type hard plastic cover balls, you're not going to get the same kind of result as if you use what we might refer to as a premium ball, a ball with a softer urethane cover. It's kind of rubbery and it helps stick that ball on those grooves and interact much better. So the place we're looking for this spin to help us control our approach shots a little bit more is usually, our 7, 8, 9 irons and into the wedges. And they both have different results. So for example, let's look at an approach shot here with a 9 iron. Now from a fairway lie, this is a full swing 9 iron into the green, and we can see that it does land, rolls a little bit, but stops before it gets really out of control. And that is how we can use the stopping power of a club to be able to hold the green. Now, what happens when we don't have the assistance of those grooves? Well, I put a little piece of duct tape over top of the club and hit the same shot. So here's the same 9 iron from the same lie. And look, not only does it get a little bit more distance because there's no spin, that ball does not stop on the green. And then when we get into using a club like a sand wedge with not even a full shot, we'll see that with a good strike and good contact, that ball flies nicely and it actually stops very soon after landing. These are the clubs we like to stick the pin with. Now folks, if you're enjoying this video, please click that like button, drop me a comment, even subscribe to the channel. I'm a certified instructor with the Canadian Golf Teachers Federation. I want to help you improve your game and have more fun out on the course. Now in those examples, I'm hitting off a clean fairway lie, but our lie out on the course really impacts how the club will interact with that ball. So if we have a nice fairway lie like this, you can see that the club can come down easily and not have any interruption in its contact with the ball. But when the ball is sitting in the rough like this, it's very difficult to get a clean hit. We end up getting grass and dirt and different things between the club face and the ball, and it creates a little bit more of an unpredictable result. And this is where sometimes we just end up chunking the ball out of that rough because it's so thick, but you can also get what we call a flyer. And the way a flyer works means there's usually a little bit of rough or long grass or something between the club and the ball, and we get the same result as we had with the duct tape over those grooves. There's no interaction really between the grooves and the ball, and it gets a little bit more distance. It flies out of there, hence the name flyer, and it's very difficult to stop it on the green. And if your clubs are usually dirty and filthy and full of dirt and junk, then you're going to have that same sort of result as the duct tape did, or if a bunch of grass gets stuck between your club and the ball. And that's why it's so important to clean your clubs. I like to use water and dish soap, sometimes get a little brush and really kind of clean those out. These are handy to have out on the course after you make a shot to clean those grooves out. Some of them have a little needle sticking out that you can stick in those grooves to clear out the little dirt and rocks and things. You could even use a T, whatever it takes to clean those grooves and improve that ball-club interaction. Because your irons and wedges are the clubs that are digging into the ground the most and getting that much more ground friction on the face, this is why these are the clubs that you might want to replace the most. Now, you don't have to replace them every year, but your wedges are probably going to be the club that see the most damage and will need replacing over time. Because all that dirt and rocks and sand in the bunkers will wear away at those grooves and diminish their impact on how they interact with the ball. Now, some folks will ask about groove sharpeners. You can get those file tools and scrape away at those things. I don't really recommend those. You're not going to really improve the quality of the club. You can actually make matters worse by filing down the edges further. And if you compete in golf, that can turn your club into a non-conforming club, meaning it's illegal because you've modified it. So when we're trying to stick those greens with a good approach shot, it's not always just about the contact and our swing. Certainly that is important, but it's also about how clean contact we have with the ball and the club. All right, I hope that information and those tips help you stick those greens, make those birdie putts, and lower your scores. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time on Greg's Golf Shack.